Let's talk about a single, crucial day in the history of technology, February 10th, 2026. This is the day everything shifted, the day all the talk, all the hype, finally gave way to something very, very real. So let's dive in and break down exactly what happened. And this quote from a press digest that day, man, it just nails it. We're officially out of the sandbox. The experimental phase is over, and we're now in an era of massive industrial deployment. The biggest change? AI isn't just answering our questions anymore. It's being given the power to act on its own.
And that brings us to the one big idea you need to understand, the Agentic Era. You see, we've moved on from AI that was just reactive, waiting for us to tell it what to do. We're now in a world where AI is autonomous. We're talking about systems that can reason, plan, and carry out complex tasks all by themselves.
So what was the spark that lit this fire? Well, on February 10th, two absolutely groundbreaking models were released out of China, with over 1 trillion parameters each. And these things completely changed the game. They weren't just bigger models. They were built on a totally new way of thinking about intelligence.
Okay, so here's the core innovation from Alibaba's new model, and it's a huge deal. It's called test-time scaling. Now, instead of just spitting out the next word, TTS actually lets the model pause, iterate, and refine its own thinking before it gives you an answer. It can literally think harder when it hits a tough problem.
And the proof is in the pudding, right? Look at this number. Using that thinking time, the model hit a 91.5% success rate on problems from elite-level math competitions. We're not talking about a small improvement here. This is a quantum leap in a machine's ability to reason.
And this table just lays out the new battlefield perfectly. It's not just Alibaba. Moonshot AI's new model introduced something called agent swarms, where you have up to 100 little sub-agents all working together on a single task. And with a 2 million token context window, it can read an entire library of legal documents in one go. The main takeaway here is crystal clear. These powerful open-weight models from China are now going toe-to-toe with, and sometimes even beating, the best proprietary models from the US.
But here's the thing. A jump in power this big, it doesn't come cheap. In fact, it's kicking off a massive shift in the entire AI economy and a spending race that's worth well over $500 billion.
For years, AI kind of felt, free, right? That growth was all paid for by venture capital and the profits of big tech. February 10th marks the day that party officially ended. The industry now has to face a really basic question. Who's actually going to pay for all this intelligence?
And the answer starts with this number. The Big Four, we're talking Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft, are on track to spend a combined $650 billion on AI infrastructure in 2026 alone. That's up 60% from the year before. The scale of this is, it's something we've just never seen before.
And this chart just breaks it down for you. You can see Amazon leading the charge at $200 billion, with Google right behind. This isn't just corporate spending. It's an all-out arms race to build the actual physical foundation for a completely new agent-driven internet.
But check this out, because this slide shows the incredible pickle that a company like Google is in. They're spending almost $200 billion to build a technology that, and they're admitting this in their own SEC filings now, could completely wipe out their main advertising business. It is the classic innovator's dilemma, just on an absolutely terrifying scale.
All this spending is creating a pretty big disconnect. Wall Street sees these massive numbers as just the cost of doing business, the price of admission for the next decade. But regular investors are starting to show signs of what people are calling AI fatigue. After Meta announced its spending plans, retail investor sentiment just tanked, with a lot of people asking if this is even sustainable. So where is all this cash going? It's going into one thing: building the machine. The Agentic Era needs a total overhaul of our physical data infrastructure, from the tiniest chip all the way up to the data center itself. Okay, get a load of this number, 102.4 terabits per second. That's the speed of Cisco's new networking chip. See, as these AI models get bigger and bigger, the bottleneck isn't the GPU anymore, it's the network that connects all of them. And this chip is built to solve exactly that problem. And when you're running that much power, you get a ton of heat. I mean, a ton. That's why the entire industry is shifting to 100% liquid cooling and these new super efficient optics. Together, they give you an incredible 70% boost in energy efficiency. So the key thing to realize is this isn't just about sustainability anymore, it's a matter of physical survival for the data center industry.
And of course, at the very heart of this whole universe is the chip. And this chart shows you the epic three-way battle for who gets to own the future. You've got NVIDIA pushing into what it calls physical AI. You have AMD carving out the AI PC market while also becoming a real contender in the data center. And then there's Intel, just fighting to stay relevant.
But this isn't just a tech story. The rise of the Agentic Era is completely redrawing the geopolitical map. We're seeing new alliances, new centers of power, and some really intense new fights over regulation.
And what's really interesting is watching how a country like India is playing its hand. It's positioning itself as a leader for the global south by pushing this impact-first model. They're basically saying, hey, instead of being scared of this stuff like the West, let's just use it to solve real problems in healthcare and farming. It's a very different approach.
Meanwhile, over in Europe, regulators are kicking off what some are calling the AI interoperability wars. They've actually forced Meta to let other AI assistants run on WhatsApp. It's a huge move designed to stop these big platforms from locking everyone into their own little AI gardens.
And back in the US, a massive power struggle is brewing. You've got states like California and New York passing their own tough AI laws, but now the federal government is stepping in saying, whoa, hold on, we can't have 50 different rule books, and it's creating this huge cloud of uncertainty over the whole industry.
Okay, so we've talked about the power, the money, and the politics. But that brings us to our final section, the really scary part. Because with all these incredible new autonomous powers comes some equally incredible and potentially catastrophic new risks.
I want you to walk through this with me because it is terrifyingly simple. Researchers found this flaw in an AI desktop agent. An attacker can hide some bad code in something totally harmless, like a calendar invite. Then all you have to do is ask your AI, hey, what's on my schedule today? The agent reads the invite, runs the code by itself, and boom, the attacker has complete control of your computer. That's the danger of these new agentic systems.
So if you remember one thing from this whole day, what should it be? It's this idea right here, the great consolidation. The fun, fragmented, experimental phase of AI, it's over. We are now in a serious high-stakes industrial era, where only a tiny handful of giants with the deepest pockets can even afford to play the game.
And all of that leaves us with one final and pretty unsettling question. Everything that happened on February 10th points to a future where AI systems are starting to work at speeds and complexities that we just can't keep up with. So as that gap gets wider, you have to ask yourself, who's really in control here?